Today I want to share with you about two good things. You know, this whole COVID-19 epidemic and all the shutdowns associated with it are bringing a lot of, frankly, bad things into our lives. From the small annoyances, like having to stay home and not being able to do things you enjoy, to the big tragic elements like the loss of life and just the significant ripples that are going throughout the world. There are certainly many bad elements to it, but it is also the case that anytime something's happening, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of aspects of it that we don't see and we don't appreciate. And I'm sure that there are a lot of good things coming out of this. And today I just wanted to share two with you. One is an increase, and the second is a decrease. And these are two good things that are coming out of this difficult time. The first thing, good thing that's coming out of this is it's increasing our love for the gathered church. And you know this is true, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. There's a kind of remembering what we can no longer hold on to that makes the memory of it and the longing for it that much more precious in our hearts and in our minds. This is a biblical theme, particularly in the Psalms of exile. I'm turning here to Psalm 137. There are many Psalms like this where God's people are exiled from their temple and their place of worship, and they're longing to get back there. Psalm 137 says, "By the waters of Babylon, there we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion. On the willows there we hung our lyres. There our captors required us to sing, and our tormentors over us saying, 'Sing us the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. Let my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth. If I do not remember you, if I do not set Jerusalem above as my highest joy.'" They're in a time of exile. They're remembering what they had, and they're saying, if I forget how precious the corporate worship with God's people was, let my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth so that I can't ever speak again, because of how precious is that time of corporate worship that they lost. And we remember that. We are longing to come together again to remember the death of Jesus Christ and to receive His body and His blood in the cup and in the bread. We long for that, and we've been prevented from having that, and that lack really is opening up our hearts to how much we love gathering together. A couple of times, actually more than a couple times, people have asked me, well, you think because you put the preaching and the music online and it's so easy to watch it at home in your bathrobe that people are going to become used to that and not want to come back? I ain't worried about that. I ain't worried about that at all. The only thing that this seems to be doing in the hearts of Racine Bible Church people is it's making us long to be together again. So I think that, in a way, that's a good outcome because it's increasing our love for our forever family and the absolute desire that we have to be together. What we're providing through providing the preaching and the singing online is not the assembled gathering of the church. It's maybe as good as we can do for now, but it's not the best, and it's not what we're really after. So we long to get together again. And that's a good thing that's coming out of this, is an increase of our love for the church. And let me tell you a second good thing that's coming out of this, and that's a decrease. And let's put it like this, a decrease in our love for material things. That is, this time of crisis is teaching us that we can get along with a lot less financially than we thought we could. And that's a good thing. We have experienced the loss of so many luxuries. No movie theaters, no sporting events, limits on items that you can buy at the grocery store. It's just unprecedented for us. And it really is true that most of us in America suffer from affluence, not from poverty. We have so much that we don't really appreciate what we have, and then when we lack one little thing, we get all snippy and entitled because we're used to everything. And this is one of the biggest differences between us and the church in the New Testament. We don't really ever worry about our daily bread and tomorrow's bread. But almost everybody in the church in the New Testament, it was a significant part of their lives to say, am I going to have bread tomorrow and the day after that? There was a a mentality of scarcity, and all we're used to is a mentality of abundance. Anytime I'm thirsty, I have so many things to choose that I could have to drink. Anytime I'm hungry, I have so many things to choose from that I could satisfy my hunger with, and it just wasn't that way for our brothers and sisters in the New Testament. We need to learn to get along with less. Jesus said, I just read this yesterday in my time in the Word, in Matthew 10, when Jesus is sending out the disciples, he tells them to not go among the Gentiles yet, but to go to the lost sheep of Israel and to proclaim that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And then he says in Matthew chapter 10, verse 8, as you go, receive no payment and acquire no gold or silver or copper for your belts. Take no bag for your journey. Don't even take 2 tunics or extra sandals, for the laborer deserves his food. That sort of mentality of the disciples is, all I need is the bare minimum, and I'm just going to proclaim the kingdom of God and love the Lord. And if this little time of crisis teaches us to get along with less, that's a really good thing. I think all of us are thinking more carefully about our money, or the money that God has entrusted to us these days. I just had a phone call yesterday with one of our RBC members, and he hasn't lost his job, but he's mandated to take 1 week out of every 3 or 1 week out of every 4 off without pay. So he's got to tighten the belt and figure out how to make do with less. And while that's a hardship and there's some negative aspects to it, it's also in a way a good thing and a blessing, because it teaches us the difference between wants and needs, and it teaches us to have that Christ-like disciple mentality where we're able to get along with less. And I tell you, I have been so thrilled by the way our RBC people have been sharing with one another. We had this event of a drive-through prayer with a pastor. And while we had that event, I had in my pocket a bunch of gift cards. And one of the things we asked as people came through is, do you have a need for groceries? And we have some grocery funds that we can give you. And by the time that event was over, I had, I think, maybe one person take a gift card, and I had 2 or 3 or 4 cars say, no, I don't need anything, but here's some money for the next people that come through. And I came out ahead rather than behind in this giveaway. And that doesn't surprise me if you know our people, the way that we generously share with one another. And that's a good outcome. If this teaches us to get along with less and to be more aggressive in our sharing for Jesus' sake, that's a good thing. So those are 2 good outcomes at least that are coming from this time. Let's keep growing together, RBC.